Hello, hello, hello. What's going on? Welcome back into another episode of Popcorn for Breakfast with your co-host Kirk.
Hello, hello.
I'm your other co-host Cam. You already know what it is. It's Monday night. It's Popcorn for Breakfast. Maybe it's not Monday night if you're listening on the podcast and you're not on the stream.
35 listeners just got defiantly angry at us.
That's
like,
right.
It's Wednesday! Smash!
Yeah. That's right. Let's be honest. If you don't watch on the stream, you're dead to me anyway. Just kidding.
Whoa.
Just kidding. That's sarcasm. As my 3-year-old would say, Daddy, are you being sarcastic? He says it almost like he's like he's Fran Drescher. There's no R.
Yes.
And I'm like, yes, I'm always sarcastic. Which I hear is bad. It's not a good thing. Sarcasm is on the hot seat. They say it's. I read an article somewhat recently that said it was like in my some sort of feed, or maybe somebody shared it. It was like, sarcasm is bad for your marriage. Here's why. And I was like, do tell. Basically, sarcasm is they're just saying like sarcasm is a form of like chronic negativity and stuff like that. I was like, I don't buy it, but whatever.
Whoa.
I don't buy it. Anyway, I was just being sarcastic. For those of you not listening on the stream, I still love you. We still love you. We're glad you're here. Interesting week we got going on this week in terms of movie news, because Kirk, movie and TV news is a little quiet right now.
Yes.
And this is an overused saying, but I really feel like it's sort of the calm before the storm with regard to movie and TV news, because the Oscars are next week. Well, I say next week, this Sunday. The Oscars are this Sunday. We've had not very many new like in theater releases. The Batman was sort of the last big thing to drop in theaters. And then we've got a few, nothing big, nothing knocking it off the top of the box office podium right now. Maybe The Lost City next weekend. Sandra Bullock, Channing Tatum, we'll see.
Yeah, no chance at all.
It's quiet, and it'll be quiet until Morbius, and we'll see if Morbius is quiet too. I don't know, but before you know it, Kirk, Oscars are going to happen. Then we're going to be right into the throes of blockbuster season. But we still have stuff to talk about this week. We have a new trailer. This seems to happen every week. You can almost set your watch to it. We have a new trailer for a Disney Plus series. I think their goal is to release. You know how Netflix is trying to release one movie every week for the rest of the year at least. That's what Disney's trying to do with trailers. They're like, we're going to release a trailer every week for a Disney Plus series. And they never seem to come, and yet we're always talking about them.
Yes.
It's like the NFL. The NFL is like the only sport that is talked about 12 months out of the year because they just constantly put themselves back into the news cycle. So that's that's Disney's strategy right now.
Marketing geniuses.
And the other thing that has been consistent throughout the year so far has been some sort of controversy related to the Oscars, whether it be who got picked, who got snubbed, who's hosting the Oscars cutting out certain awards, and the most recent snub, or the most recent controversy, which is just plain weird. They're just getting weird now. We'll talk about that in this episode as well. But before we do any of that, Kirk, I feel like I have a confession to make, and that confession is that
What?
I like Apple TV Plus now, Kirk.
Oh my goodness.
I do. I like it. I feel like it was the butt of every joke for the first 2 years that it was out, but I have to say, it's kind of legit. It's kind of legit, Kirk. I don't know.
I agree with you. We had a very hearty laugh about their first lineup. Most notably, Jason Momoa's series, which is getting a second season somehow.
Somehow. I don't know. I don't get that.
Called CSEE.
Yeah.
That right there was the epitome of what Apple TV Plus thought quality streaming was. And
listen, their opening lineup is still trash. Like they were trash. Like those jeers were not misplaced, but I thought they would never dig their way out of it, and I feel like they're close. I feel like they're really close because I've watched all of the After Party on Apple TV Plus. I'm watching Severance now. They've got me, and I'm watching that, and I get an ad for, the last days of Ptolemy Gray
Mm-hmm.
with Samuel L. And I'm like, that's interesting. And they've got new movies and TV shows coming out, and I'm starting to be like, man, I think I'm a believer. I think I'm a believer in this platform now.
I think so too. I think that Severance should be plastered everywhere because it's their first actual good show. Like they had some
Yeah,
interesting concept shows like Dickinson,
sure.
what was clever, but nothing has been like so consistent. Like if it keeps it up, if
Uh-huh.
Severance keeps it up, it could be one of the greatest shows, right? Like one that we're like, man, you got to watch Severance that we reference, and it's getting there. It's getting
That's
real
big.
close.
That's big, Kirk. I'm in the early going. But yeah, I mean, I like what I see. It's very reminiscent of Homecoming
Yes.
on Amazon Prime. It's very reminiscent of that. I know different director, different plot, different everything, but I mean, it just has strong Homecoming vibes to it. Um, so I do like it. I'm not far enough into it to be like really into it yet, but I like the
Right.
way where they're going.
So
Um,
Ron Swanson has not shown up to take over the office.
is that a real thing that happens? If so, I don't know that I'll keep watching.
No, it is not. Of
Okay,
course
good.
not.
Yeah. So, but I mean, the rest of their content library, it's coming along, Kirk, and they've kind of played the long game on this. And I was like, you know what? I subscribed to the Apple One bundle
You do?
over the weekend. I just did because I did the math, and I was like, I could switch from Spotify to Apple Music, which pained me to do, but it just made sense. I was like, I'm already paying for Apple TV Plus, and I think I'm going to continue doing it.
Yeah.
I'm already paying for iCloud. So switch to Apple Music, boom, it's cheaper. So that's where I'm at, and I cannot believe that I'm here because I remember when that bundle came out, and I was like, ha, who would ever?
Because you get Apple News and Apple Arcade with that as well?
Yeah, and Apple Fitness,
Oh, interesting.
which it's funny. Like for me, never used Apple News before, never used Apple Arcade before, not even like the free trial. Used the free trial of Apple Fitness, I liked it, but it was like not something I would pay for.
Mm-hmm.
But now that I'm paying for the Apple One thing, and those things are effectively free to me because the other costs were already factored in. I'm like playing games on Apple Arcade. I'm like the kind of person who's like, if I bought it, I'm going to use it. I'm like, I don't
Right.
even read. I never read the news. Like I couldn't care less about the news. And I'm like in Apple News Plus, like, ooh, what can I look at? People
That's right.
Magazine.
That's right. I might be watching like one of the most incredible movies or shows or several Academy Award winning movies on HBO Max, like from the catalog, right? And I'm like, you know what though? I'm still paying for Netflix. I'm
Yep.
still paying for Hulu. I'm still paying for Prime. So I do like a circle. I do a lap around
Yes.
the streaming brothers and sisters, and then I keep going around and around to spread the wealth. So I get
Yeah.
that. That's kind of like Apple One. It's called Apple One, right?
Apple One.
So you're like, all right, listen, I got to get to all these services. Kind of like when you stay at a resort, you're like, well, yes, I
I
will go
must
get
take
cucumbers
advantage
on my
of
eyes.
all
Why
the
not?
amenities. It's so dumb. But yeah, the platform usage thing is so interesting because like it ebbs and flows. Like 3 months ago, I was not using Amazon Prime at all. Like Prime Video, not even a little bit. Now I'm using it all the time. I watched Reacher on there. I've been watching a few other things on there. And HBO Max has sort of fallen out of my rotation. So it's just like it constantly ebbs and flows. But, I feel like there's a pretty, like, there's starting to be a pretty solid group at the top there with obviously Netflix, HBO Max, Disney Plus, and then Apple TV Plus and Hulu. I mean, those five are pretty much kind of solid now, kind of like the must-haves.
Mhm.
And then there's the bottom dwellers of the Paramount Pluses, the Peacocks of the world. So we'll see what happens, but it's gotten interesting, and they're getting the last laugh. Apple's probably, those Apple execs are over there getting the last laugh right now because everybody who mocked it mercilessly at the beginning, myself included, is now on the hook, the fish on the line, and they got me.
True.
So Well
It's
played.
because they gave it to us for free for so long that we forgot to turn off our auto renew.
Yeah, and then whenever you start paying for it, it's like $5 or something like that. So like you don't even see it. You're just like, oh, well, just Apple TV Plus. I got it.
I guess I'll get one less cheeseburger this week.
Yeah, right.
But only the week that it gets deposited, right?
Yeah.
Or withdrawn. And then you're like, yeah, whatever. I did great this week.
Perfect. Yeah, it all makes sense. You can justify anything. All right. But now that my confession is out of the way, and now that we've come full circle on Apple TV Plus, let's talk about what's going on this week. Let's get into what's popping. All right. First up, our trailer reaction. Everybody loves a trailer reaction. And this week, we have a very interesting trailer. And if you had told me that a trailer was dropping from Disney Marvel, Marvel Studios, whatever you want to call it, this week, I would have never guessed that it would have been Miss Marvel. My first guess would have been Thor: Love and Thunder. How do we not have a trailer for Thor: Love and Thunder? I'm convinced they're just not going to give us one. That thing comes out in like July or something like that. And we've seen nothing.
I think Taika Waititi even said, like, on a red carpet, I think he was like, yeah, maybe the month before, maybe not. We'll see.
I mean, what is happening right now? I don't understand.
Maybe it's so spoilerful that they can't even release a single frame of that movie.
Okay, but come on. They managed to pull together a trailer for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness and Spider-Man No Way Home. But if you look at, there was a guy, and I can't remember, it's been too long since I've seen it, but many weeks back, like 4 weeks back, somebody on Twitter posted, like, for those of you scoring at home, Spider-Man No Way Home trailer came out X days before movie release. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, X days before movie release. And they were all like 100 days, 100 days, 100 days, something like that, or maybe 170 or something like that. And he was like, that's where we're at with Thor: Love and Thunder right now. So in other words, we're due any day the trailer's going to drop. And it's been like a month and a half since that person posted that thing.
I know, we're like 47 days, maybe less now, away from Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and nothing from Thor. No, I mean, maybe something so crazy happens in Doctor Strange that we can't even see the trailer for Thor: Love and Thunder until that premieres.
We can't see anything that happens chronologically after that film until it happens. Yeah, I mean, it could be. I don't know. Anyway, we did get a trailer. Inexplicably, it happened to be Miss Marvel, which still excited about that. Big series, new character. So that's very exciting. And this is an interesting trailer, and right now I can't share my screen because there's an error with StreamYard, so I won't be able to pull up the trailer. But I want to talk about this trailer because there's a few things going on here. First of all, newcomer on the scene, Iman Vellani, playing the lead role of Kamala Khan. We've got Miss Marvel in a way that we've never really seen Miss Marvel before. She has different powers. She seemingly has different powers from what she had in the comics, which, in spite of everything that Marvel has done to date to change things from the comics, I feel like this is the farthest, and maybe I'm missing some detail, but I feel like this is the farthest departure from a character's actual powers that we have seen. She appears to have powers that are more akin to Monica Rambeau than really like the stretchy Miss Marvel shape-shifting type of powers. What were your thoughts on that?
So I don't know a lot about this Miss Marvel. All I know is
she's kind of like a Mr. Fantastic type character. She can get big, she can get small, she can stretch her body, she can make a big giant, like she's sort of a shapeshifter of sorts.
Can she like turn into like inanimate objects? Like, I'd like to turn into a hamster to avoid capture.
No, she's not like a Wonder Twin. She can.
Why not?
But she could she could turn into like the shape of something.
Of water. Could she turn into the shape of water?
No.
Cam?
Nope.
No.
She could turn into like the shape of like a teapot though.
Okay. And you could
but
put
she wouldn't,
water
but she would
inside
be
of her and pour it out of her.
Potentially. I mean, she
Okay.
would be still a person and not a teapot, but if that makes sense, like she doesn't physically transform into a teapot, she just could transform into the shape of one.
Okay,
Anyway,
gotcha. So like when Wile E. Coyote gets like destroyed and like turns into like different angles and he
yeah,
becomes that for a while until he like blows on his thumb and he pops back out, right?
yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Yeah,
Excellent.
she is what they describe as a polymorph.
Very cool.
So she can do all kinds of things. But in this trailer, what we see is something that's, she even describes it. She's like, someone says, "How does it feel?" And she says, "Cosmic." And she's got, you're still seeing things that are Miss Marvel-esque, a big giant fist of energy coming out, like all of these different powers, super jump type things. But it's altogether different than what you would expect from Miss Marvel for those who are familiar with the character, which is like a very stretchy Mr. Fantastic type of character. So that's very interesting.
Hmm.
They go out of their way to mention Jersey City, New Jersey, that she's like, this isn't supposed to happen to somebody from Jersey City. And then the other overarching thing is that the vibe of this is very, coming of age, teenage, like high school type drama. It's very reminiscent of like Spider-Man Homecoming, and it
Right.
might be the most adolescent teenage type thing they have done since that, or anything even really remotely similar to that since Spider-Man Homecoming. So it's got a very different vibe. The reason I call out the Jersey City thing, Kirk, and you know what I'm going to say, Jersey City and the cosmic powers, is that makes me speculate that whatever is going on with her powers is directly related to what happened in WandaVision and what happened with Monica Rambeau and the force field. Like that town, and the name is escaping me at the moment, but that town that they were in was in New Jersey. And so the fact that she's in Jersey City and they go out of their way to say it in the trailer, you have to believe that's going on, right?
Absolutely. Because nothing in Marvel is just like thrown away. It's all
Yeah.
intentional. It's all well thought out and it's just so wonderfully connected. And I think that if you're going to have someone cosmic and who can rotate between different galaxies and multiverses just at will or in a chaotic sense, what better version to do it than to connect it with Wanda?
hmm Yeah, the Westview anomaly. So Westview is the name of the town. That series feels like it was eons ago, and it was like this time last year or January of last year.
Wow.
Um, but yeah, I mean they're leaning heavily into those connections, and like I said, we even theorized it when we did our what do we call spilled popcorn of
Yeah.
WandaVision episodes. We talked about Kamala Khan because we knew this series was coming. We knew that she was in Jersey City. We had looked all that up. And so it looks like they're leaning into that, which is exciting. But outside of the WandaVision tie-ins, the Miss Marvel tie-ins, I mean, you see her in the Captain Marvel tie-ins. You see her in the trailer daydreaming about being Captain Marvel, wearing the Captain Marvel suit and things like that. But outside of those sort of larger MCU tie-ins, what are your thoughts on the overall, the vibe, the aesthetic, the tone, and the overall look of the show?
I think it hits. I think it hits right on. I am very, as someone who knows nothing about Miss Marvel, I am very excited to see this show. I know nothing about the main conflict of this character. I know nothing about, quite notably, the powers that should be there and may or may not surface. So I'm very excited after seeing this trailer. Fantastic music, fantastic vibe, as the kids say. I'm showing my chuggy side. And I just want to say that I really need a big hitter from the rest of the Avengers to come into this one. We haven't really had that yet, and I know it's to kind of keep them separate, introduce them as their own. And I don't want to diminish this character. I just want the shock factor, and I don't care who it is. I just want someone to show up in this that I wasn't expecting. So please, that's the only thing I want out of this series because they haven't done it yet.
Yeah, it is the line that they have not crossed with the series. And I think to your point, if they were to do it, then there's a little bit more excitement that goes into every series because you feel like nothing is off limits.
Right.
Like these series are not reserved for just smaller characters, just small events. Like anything is on the table. Anything that could happen in a movie could happen in these series, and that makes them must-watch television. Like when we were theorizing about Spider-Man appearing in Hawkeye, when we were theorizing about Captain Marvel appearing in WandaVision. We had all of these different thoughts about who might appear, Thor in Loki, etc. It never came to fruition, so it would be good to see it. To your point, Kirk, this might be the one, though. That there are rumors, or people are speculating that Hulk might appear in Moon Knight. I don't know if that is practical, but if you would think logically, the next appearance for Miss Marvel that we know of, and that is confirmed, is Nia DaCosta's The Marvels, which is a direct sequel to Captain Marvel, and which will feature Monica Rambeau, so Photon, Monica Rambeau, whatever you want to call her, and Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan, in addition to Captain Marvel. So you would think there might be an opportunity for Brie Larson, Captain Marvel, to appear in this series, but I agree with you. I think that would take things to the next level.
It's one of the things that they separate themselves from DC. DC, you can have 6 different versions, 6 different actors, and still the silver screen has whoever is the most, I don't know, buzzworthy celebrity.
Yeah.
Even when like the Flash, we have Mr. Gustin, who is playing an incredibly fantastic Flash on TV for several seasons before they cast this character. And then you just pick Ezra. Like, sorry, no, that doesn't sit right with me. So I think that if you continue to inject the real characters into the Disney Plus series, we know they will. We know they won't change. They won't mix casting. But I really think that is just one more nod, service to the fans and to the story.
Agreed. Yeah, Disney or DC seems to build a divide within their own fan base of
Yes.
these are the CW fans and these are the DC extended universe movie fans, and we've built 2 separate products for them, which is a strange choice. And yeah, that is the thing that separates Marvel. And I think that if they want people to continue to be interested in the shows and to feel like you have to watch the shows and stay fully connected to understand what's going on in the movies, then they need to inject more of the movie storylines into the shows and vice versa, which we're starting to see because Doctor Strange talks directly about Westview in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. We think Loki will appear. There's a lot that hinges on that movie, but this will be interesting. I think it's one of the most intriguing projects that Marvel has going right now is Miss Marvel, because she's a new character, she's a young character, a lot rests on her shoulders, and we'll be anxiously awaiting it. So Miss Marvel coming, I believe they said June in the trailer, so we'll be excited about that one. All right, next up, Kirk, let's move on to the Oscars. We've got 6 days till the Oscars. 6 days. So we're getting really close to final thoughts and predictions and things like that. And so I will imagine that our stream next week and our podcast, our What's Poppin' podcast, will revolve heavily around what happens on Sunday night at the Oscars. That'll sort of be our Oscars post show. And I don't know if we'll do a pre-stream like we did last year for the Oscars or anything like that, but I do want to talk about the Oscars.
Yes.
Because there are so many storylines going on right now. And there was a new one this week, and really last night, which is that Rachel Zegler posted last night on Instagram that she somehow, inexplicably, does not have an invite to the Oscars. And despite her position as the lead in an Oscar Best Picture nominated film, West Side Story, and her rising star status and all of her connections and the fact that she's in a film directed by Steven Spielberg, and the list goes on and on and on, she has been unable to secure a position in the audience of that show. And this comes after the Oscars announced that they are cutting time that they're devoting to big award categories, including editing, score, hair and makeup, etc. They're going to pre-record those, and then they said they're going to try to weave them into the broadcast, which means they're going to cut them way down and then sort of splice them in. They've also, they've added a performance of of We Don't Talk About Bruno, even though that song's not nominated. So they're doing all these things to try to enhance the show, but the whole time seem to be sort of tripping over their own feet. I mean, what is there to even expect about this show at this point? And I don't know, like it feels like a lot's on the line right now for them if this does not go well because they're risking so much. But what's your reaction to the latest story and overall thoughts on where things stand heading into the Oscars?
It's absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. Everything that you've said there is all of their stumbling blocks, all of their self-made obstacles. And to not invite someone from the cast of the Best Picture nominee, even though it won't win, it's just, it's so thoughtless, it's so reckless.
Yeah.
And you have this young actor who is trying to, make connections and be seen, and you're destroying that opportunity for her. It's an absolute flaming pile of garbage, this whole
Well,
situation.
yeah, and she's young to your point and has a young fan base and a pretty avid fan base. I don't know if you like follow her on Twitter, follow her on Instagram. Like she's already a sensation. People
Yeah.
love her. She's got a very like K-pop boy band type of following behind her really at this point. So that seems like another missed opportunity for the Academy. And I'll just say it because I've said it before. She should be nominated first of all. For me, and I'm not saying this to be hyperbolous at all. Like for me, she was the performance of the year. Her performance as Maria was my favorite acting performance. I don't I haven't thought about it like on the male side, but like if I was nominating best actress, she would have been at the top of my list and then there would be others. But so that's ridiculous in and of itself. But the fact that she can't even get into the show is crazy. The fact that the Oscars let it get this far, as soon as she starts asking around, you have to find a way to get her into the show. This should not be hard to
Right.
do.
It should have been the news broke, and whoever's responsible for the guest list should have been either fired or immediately called her on their personal cell
Yeah.
phone and said, "Hey, my bad. We're getting you front row next to Meryl Streep. No worries. 10 gift baskets. It's on us."
Yeah, the fact that the Instagram post was out there before they could squash this is a huge PR failure on their part, and it looks bad, especially with everything else they've got going on. I mean, the host search was one of those things that should have been a huge opportunity for them. Like after 2 years, the Oscars is going back to being a hosted event. And they leaked all these big names. I mean, they were saying Tom Holland, they were saying John Hamm, they were saying the Only Murders in the Building crew, like huge names. And then they end up going with Wanda Sykes, Regina Hall, and Amy Schumer. Most people are like not enthused by that based on just what I've seen. I'm not overly enthused with that selection outside of Wanda Sykes, who frankly should just be doing the dang thing by herself if anybody's going to do it. But you leak all those big names and then you trip on your own feet to say, well, we went with these guys who were not our first choice. Like it's just a disaster. And after all the bad PR they got about cutting awards and changing the format of the show and trying to be more hip and with it, like it feels like this is the fork in the road for the Academy. This year the Globes were not televised. And of course that was for reasons outside of just television production value and what it represents as a product. That was for like scandal and the Hollywood Foreign Press Association and all the craziness that was going on there. But if this show tanks after how the Oscars looked last year, if the ratings are not good on this, you have to think they're going to start, ABC is going to start looking at this thing and going, what is this as a commercial property? Like, do we even continue to invest time and resources and money into this event? Or do we just say, hey, Academy of Arts and Sciences, go live stream your crap and take a hike? I mean, this feels like it's it.
It's possible. I mean, I'm still waiting for the phone call or the email to our popcornforbreakfast@gmail.com to say, hey guys, we need your input. We think you are fantastic influencers and we think you have incredible ideas. And we'd like you to restructure our show and how the voting works and the entire Academy. I mean, it's fine, like, that we haven't gotten the email yet. Maybe it's in our spam, but I really think that they should come to us and help us reshape the face of the Academy Awards.
That's bold, Kirk. But you're a bold guy.
I'm a bold guy. My name is Kirk. To boldly go where no man has gone before.
I'd be
I'm
willing to
ready for
say
this.
we could make a few less PR mistakes than them, because the stuff that they're doing at this point is just it's pretty dumb. It's pretty dumb.
We would make fewer PR mistakes that are offensive and more non-offensive PR mistakes that people would just like, it's a train wreck and they can't look away.
Exactly.
Like we get like a sand sculpture at the front of the entrance, and it collapses and it completely engulfs Sterling K. Brown, and he has to go to the hospital, and you witness.
K.
and perhaps we serve drinks during drinks and snacks during the entire production, right? Like, you never get to see that. Like, and there's crazy commotion, and you can't understand anyone because you hear you hear Robert Downey Jr. munching on some Pop Rocks, and it's just like sizzling in his mouth. I think these are the things that people will want to see, the actors being real people.
They need PR mistakes that make people want to watch the show, not make people not want to watch it. Because sometimes, with events, they have like PR mistakes, which are like fake things that they do for publicity stunts to get people to watch the show.
Yeah.
This is not what's going on here. What's going on here is they're just being dumb and making tons of mistakes. Like, the Rachel Zegler thing is a disaster. The backlash to cutting those awards is a disaster. I feel like that would have been better as like a ask forgiveness, not permission type of thing. Like, we had to cut things out of the live broadcast because of this, that, and the other. I don't know. It feels like this thing is not headed in the right direction. Last year's Oscars were the most boring thing I've ever seen in my entire life. And I'm the target audience. I love the movies, like, we are the people who should be digging it. And it was painful to watch. So I'm nervous because I do love the Oscars. It's really the only award show that I've consistently tuned in for. It's something that I value. It just feels like, man, there's a lot at stake this year for the Oscars. And I hope they pull it off, but it just seems to be headed in the wrong direction. But before we get into the Oscars on Sunday, Kirk, I got to know. Final pick, Best Picture. What do you think wins? Not what do you want to win, what do you think wins?
It's going to go to Coda.
Coda. I mean, there's a lot of positive momentum behind Coda. I am going to go Belfast. I want
Belfast.
Yeah.
I want it. But Coda has so much momentum right now.
I don't know what I want at this point. I really don't. I've thought about that. I mean, there's nothing that I'm just like absolutely crazy over. Like, I would be happy if Dune won. I really would be. And I would be happy if Coda won. But I know what I don't want, and that's Don't Look Up. And I saw that Don't Look Up won the Writers Guild Original Screenplay Award, and so help me, Kirk. So help me. If it wins Original Screenplay at the Oscars, and I mean, God forbid it wins the big award, it will not. But that's just I will lose all faith in the Academy at that point. They're already like, I'm already trending that way over some things that they've done over the last few years. And obviously Don't Look Up getting nominated, in my opinion, is an absolute disaster in the first place. It should not have been nominated. But if it wins Original Screenplay, oh my gosh, I will freak out. Because it's just
new television.
The jokes aren't funny. It's a satire that's not funny, and the narrative, like the actual plot line, is a mess. So it would just be political at that point, which there are good political movies. Nominate them. Like, he has made good political movies. I don't know. I'm on my soapbox again. I've said all of this stuff before, but I swear, dude, if that movie wins Best Original Screenplay, I'm going to lose my mind. I'm going to absolutely lose it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I feel you. I feel you very much. I want so much for them to turn things around this year, and I don't think it's going to happen. And then next year, we'll have to make the
Oh
decision once
no.
again: do we watch or do we boycott the Oscars? Finally,
I wish I hadn't watched last year. I wish I could unwatch last year's Oscars because it was so hard to watch.
well,
And
you know
and
how you can unwatch last year, Cam. We can dive into the science of the time travel from
the Adam
the Atom
Project.
Project
I can
and go back
eliminate
in
that
time.
version of myself.
Yes.
Could be. Could be. Hopefully this year is better. We'll be watching. We'll be following it along. But again, it's like that game Don't Break the Ice right now with the Oscars. Where somebody's got the little hammer and they're just like, oop, we forgot to invite Rachel Zegler. She posted on Instagram. Oop, nobody likes our host selection. And the guy in the chair is like, ugh. That's where we're at right now with the Oscars.
Yes.
And it's scary hours, big time. Okay, a few quick things before we conclude. And as Kirk mentioned, this week's review is for the Atom Project. He just kind of teased that there. So when we get done with the stream tonight, we're going to go record that. It'll drop on Thursday, March 24th is when that will drop. So be on the lookout for that. And our review of Turning Red is available if you guys haven't gotten a chance to listen to that. Highly recommend you do so. But before we move into that, a few quick hitters. 1, True Detective 4 is in the works as we speak. Barry Jenkins is attached to produce. They didn't say anything about him show running it or anything like that. I mean, Nick Pizzoletto has been the creative mastermind behind it from really Beat One, the very first season, which some people continue to call the greatest season of television ever made, the Matthew McConaughey, Woody Harrelson season, followed by a disastrous season in season 2, followed by a good season in season 3 with Mahershala Ali. So True Detective season 4 is in the works. Let the rumor mill start spinning on who could possibly star as our detectives. I've seen some fan casting that I freaking love, but it's from people who like love movies. So it's, or like people who I would normally agree with. Somebody was like Riz Ahmed, and I was like, ooh.
Yes. Yes, 1,000,000%.
I was like, they should hire you. Who are you? You should be the casting director for this show because that would be so great. Like, I would be behind that 100%. I would also be behind like Cynthia Erivo. I don't know. I have tons of ideas. It'll probably be, I mean, Mahershala was a great choice, and that season was cool because he was like, it was like young Mahershala, old Mahershala. He was like playing two different versions of himself. That was pretty slick. But
you know what it should go like if the Academy bounces back, because he did that right after his win.
he did.
I think they should just do it like if you win Best Actor,
Yeah.
Best Actress, you automatic cast in
It's like
the
a
new
sweet,
season.
it's like an award. They're like, and the award for Best Actor and Best Actress, and who will also be leads in True Detective 5 goes to. They pair you up. They take Best Actor in a leading role, Best Actress in a leading role, boom, duo, you're off.
Yes.
That would be hilarious and amazing. And it would be great every time. That's a good way to do it, honestly.
Season 35 of True Detective, we get Ryan Seacrest to announce it.
Yeah. Dude, now there's how you spice up the Oscars right there. But I'm like on full super sleuth on this. I'm becoming True Detective because I'm trying to detect who they're going to cast in this show. So I've been going through, Nick Pizzoletto, who is, again, the showrunner, the creator of the series. If you remember correctly, Kirk, did we review this movie, The Guilty?
No, but we both watched it.
Okay, we didn't review it though. Okay, Jake Gyllenhaal was in that movie, Kirk.
Yes.
And Nick Pizzolatto, sorry, wrote that movie. And he doesn't do a lot of like movie writing. So I'm like, Jake Gyllenhaal, that would be fire.
And Riz Ahmed.
Jake Gyllenhaal and Riz Ahmed.
Mhm.
Automatically, Riz Ahmed, Jake Gyllenhaal is a nice to have.
That's right. That's right. Riz
But
Ahmed wasn't even in a movie this year. How do you win Best Actor? We
listen,
really needed him in True
it's not
Detective.
important, okay? After review, they decided that Sound of Metal still counts, and he gets chosen for that. Okay, we don't make the
Yes.
rules. I mean, we do make the rules, but yeah, don't read the fine print. Okay, so we'll keep an eye on that. I'm on them saying Barry Jenkins attached to produce. I'm like, who has Barry Jenkins worked with? I'm like, it's going to be Viola Davis. I don't know. It could be anything. We'll keep an eye on it. But that's coming from the Hollywood Reporter reporting that it's in the works at HBO. This one I had to clip. It's not like the biggest story ever, but it's really cool. So we talked a little bit when we did our review of the Batman. We talked about this like universe that they're spinning up outside of the Batman. So there was like a prequel graphic novel comic series called like Before the Batman. That's pretty cool. They're doing these spin-off shows. One's on Gotham City PD / Arkham Asylum. One's on The Penguin. And they're doing this whole movie trilogy. Well, they just announced, DC did, they have a comic line called DC Black Label, which is more mature comics, and that it's newer and it's really cool. I've really liked a lot of the stuff that they've had. There's some really cool Batman stories coming out of that. But they just announced a series under the DC Black Label called Riddler Year One, and it's about Paul Dano's Riddler, and it's written by Paul Dano. He's writing the comic book.
Shut up.
Yes, dude. And it's like it's like a mini series. You know, like in comics, a lot of times will do like limited run series that are like 6 issues or 12 issues or something like that. So it's a 6-issue series.
Okay.
And Paul Dano is actually writing the story about the Riddler. And this will be the Riddler from, I think, before the Batman. So has potential to be really, really cool.
Man, I mean, if you just want to see the darkest thoughts on paper.
I know. I have to read it because I want to see like what his actual head is like.
Oh, it's a nightmare. I think actually, I think this is Paul Dano's trick to actually bring the uprising that we saw in the Batman.
Yeah.
So you will become one of his 507 followers by reading this comic.
Dude, there are, speaking of that, I don't know how much trivia you've read about the Batman or like how much, I don't like set leaks and stuff like that. There are stories about Paul Dano that are crazier than the stuff that you heard about Heath Ledger when he was Joker. Like the fact that the idea of wrapping his head in saran wrap, that was his idea. He insisted on it.
Yes, I did see that.
So that's insane. Second, the scene where he records the video message for the Batman, which is very similar to the Dark Knight when Heath Ledger has the guy. It's the same thing. The Riddler's like talking to that guy. Mm-hmm. He did like 200 takes of that.
What?
And he was the one. He was telling Matt Reeves, I want to go again. I want to go again. He was doing all these different creative things because he wanted like the most insane take humanly possible. And so he was like telling the production crew, like, we're going to go again. We're going to go again until we get the take. Like crazy stuff, dude.
I mean, I kid you not. Paul Dano is absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. But like a controlled insane. Like I don't think he's actually ever going to hurt anybody. But
no.
The dark thoughts in his mind, I just want to give him a hug, honestly.
Yeah.
I think he just needs a big hug. I mean, I want him searched before I hug him, but I think that's what he needs.
I think he's absolutely harmless, but I'm glad that there are people who are the kind of controlled crazy that he is, because how many convincingly terrifying performances has he given us to date? Plenty. Every time I see him, I'm horrified. So it's like, I'm glad you're here. You make movies more realistic because like it's so believable that you're a psychopath.
You know what I need Paul Dano to do? I need him to get super jacked, like out of nowhere, and then just do a Marvel movie and just be like a lead hero.
Nova.
Yes.
He's like some super jacked, like Adonis type hero.
And then immediately after, just lose all of that muscle and go back to his original frame and then never do another superhero movie again.
Christian Bale style.
Yes.
Yeah. That would be wild times. But I'm definitely reading that comic series. It's going to be insane. And it's supposed to come out this October. So keep an eye out for that. Riddler Year
Good.
One.
Halloween, just like horrify us even
Just
more.
to
Thanks.
haunt your dreams. Yeah, perfect. And finally, I threw this in here. I don't even know why I threw this in here. I don't really want to talk about this, but I'm going to. Deadline is reporting that a PlayDoh movie is in the works. PlayDoh.
That's stupid. Nobody likes Play-Doh.
Well, everybody likes Play-Doh, Kirk, but the problem is you can't make a movie out of Play-Doh.
I hate Play-Doh.
No, you don't. Nobody hates. Oh, as an adult,
I do.
You hate cleaning up Play-Doh.
I do.
Because your kids drop it on the floor and then they stomp into it with their feet and then it gets dried and there's little Play-Doh pieces everywhere.
Recently, for some reason, we have Play-Doh in my basement that's filled with toys. Filled with thousands, if not millions of toys.
Your basement with carpet floors, too.
With carpet floors. Yeah. And a small child recently found the Play-Doh, which is like in the tiniest little container in all of the vast amount of toys, the sea of toys, and they cracked it open, and I spotted them, and I said, no.
It was my kids, wasn't it?
And they closed it, and they went about their way.
Was it my children?
I don't remember what child it was.
I think it was. I bet it was. No, I mean, yeah, I'm like definitely a Play-Doh Nazi when it comes to like, don't mix the colors. Like that gives me insane anxiety when that happens. It really stresses me out because there's no undoing that. That's done. When that happens, that's a done deal. But anyway, they're making a movie out of Play-Doh because you know how like all the video games are being turned into movies right now? Mm-hmm. Also, this trend that I don't feel like people are noticing, but it's happening if you watch. All childhood games and toys are being turned into movies. Barbie movie. There was a Battleship movie. There's been G.I. Joe movies. Lego movie. They're making Beyblades into a movie.
Yeah.
And some of these things work. So like Lego movie, good example. That works because they already had a whole series of games and TV shows out there. They had established a style of comedy and art for the show. And they just applied that to the movies and it totally worked. But Play-Doh, like there are no characters in Play-Doh. What is this going to be?
No, this is going to be an absolute disaster. I mean, if we're really going this route of random toys from the 90s, let's create. I mean, who's to stop us from getting Gak?
Gak.
The movie. Right? Yeah. Johnny Armstrong. Or Johnny, what's the stretchy one? I don't know.
Stretch Armstrong.
Stretch Armstrong. Tamagotchi.
Bop It, the movie. Actually, Bop It would be lit if it was like a Saw type movie. Bop It.
What's the ankle? Skip It?
That's what I said. Skip It. Skip It.
Skip It?
Yeah.
Rock'em Sock'em Robots. These are the movies actually I want to see.
Rock'em Sock'em Robots would be lit. They basically made that. It was called Real Steel. And Hugh Jackman was in it, and it was awful.
And there's somehow a second one coming.
Yeah.
We could have gotten even a Furby movie would be more enticing than Play-Doh because it can be a kid's horror movie.
It's basically Gremlins. I mean, like, Furbies are Gremlins for all intents and purposes. So,
yes. I mean, there's so many things. There's so many things that are more interesting than Play-Doh or have a better storyline possible than Play-Doh. Play-Doh makes no sense as a movie.
I'm imagining Gumby, and I'm also imagining... do you remember on Nickelodeon when they had that orange face guy?
His name was Face. That's right.
Hi there, Face here, right? He was sometimes...
He was a different color.
What?
Depending on Face's mood,
oh,
he was
his
a different
mood.
color.
Yes, yeah, he was like a mood ring. And wasn't he sometimes made out of like Play-Doh, and they would like roll him around?
I think they did some creative stuff there. Yeah,
like commercial, like cut scenes. Like you're watching Nickelodeon, and here's Face like rolling around.
Yes,
I don't know.
They would do. Yeah,
this is what I'm imagining, and that doesn't make a good movie if it's just like that for 90 minutes.
No, it doesn't. I am boycotting this movie, and I hope it fails before it gets into production.
We'll see what happens, but it's happening, Kirk. And God help us, whatever childhood toy they choose next, Etch a Sketch. Who knows? We've named out a bunch of them. Skip It. I still contend that a Bop It style horror movie where if you fail to bop it, twist it, pull it, That could be cool. That could be cool. But
Oh man.
beyond that, I'm cutting all of these off, especially
It's terrible.
Beyblades. Beyblades is at the top of my hit list.
I don't know. Play-Doh, it might be worse than Beyblades. It really might.
Yeah, so it's close.
It's not, you can't, it's not even a shape until you have someone shape it.
I mean, they have all those play sets, but even the play sets are just plastic that you shove Play-Doh through violently to create hair, and
Violent.
that's all it is.
And then the sequel, they're going to bring in Silly Putty. It's Play-Doh versus
Yeah.
Silly Putty. It's going to be a whole thing, and they're going to make millions of dollars.
Uh-huh.
And I'm going to be millions of angry is what I'm going to be.
Yeah, we've got a comment in the stream chat about claymation. So it should be like, if it's not stop motion claymation, that's full stop. I mean, that's just, it has to happen. What other medium do you do it in? Do you animate it? No.
Claymation would be great. You get the Rankin Bass team in there, and we just go for it.
They
I don't
should
know
just
what
have
the
Wes
characters
Anderson
are.
direct it.
Oh, that's true. That's
That could be
very
cool.
true.
Anyway, we've given way too much airtime to Play-Doh the movie, but I just had to let
One
you know
more thing about Play-Doh the movie.
that it's happening, and I hate it, and it's the worst. But here we are, and here we are now at 51 minutes. Whenever I said we didn't have that much to talk about, but we did it. We talked for a long time, and we've got the Oscars coming up this Sunday. So stay tuned for all of our coverage of the Oscars. We're tweeting it. So if you don't follow us on Twitter, that's the place to go for Oscars coverage. We'll be tweeting out awards, reactions, usually some memes, usually some GIFs and some silliness. We'll be doing that. And then join us next Monday on the stream when we give our thoughts post-Oscars. Our official picks, let's recap again. Kirk has picked Coda to win Best Picture. That's what he thinks is going to win. I think Belfast.
Even though I want it to be Belfast.
Right.
Let's be clear.
I think it'll be Belfast. I don't know if that's like what I want. I don't know what I want. This is the central problem in my life. I have no idea what I want at any given moment in time, but we won't go down that road. So, Oscars coverage coming your way from all of our PFB socials. Our review of the Adam Project coming your way this Thursday. Be sure to refresh your feeds or just easily hit that subscribe button on all your podcast feeds so that you get it right away and you get your notification. And so much more coming your way very soon. We'll have Morbius. We'll have spilled popcorn on Moon Knight. So many interesting things coming down the pike. But until that time, we have to give a special thanks to our executive producer, Ryan Spriggs, as well as the band Rhetoric, who created our original music. Give those guys a look on Apple Music, Spotify, wherever. And we will see you guys next time.
Talk to you then.
Bye.